November 1955, Memphis, Tennessee. A 20-year-old truck driver named Elvis Presley sits at a kitchen table, staring at a contract that will change his life forever. Sign it and he becomes a star, but he'll lose everything that got him here. The Sun Records days. If you remember the early days of rock and roll, you remember how raw it was, how real. Kids crowding into tiny studios, musicians who worked day jobs, songs recorded in 1 or 2 takes because studio time was expensive and nobody had time for perfection. Sun Records in Memphis was the heart of it all. Sam Phillips, a dreamer with a small studio and big ears, was recording everyone the major labels ignored. Black blues artists, poor white kids, anyone with something real to say. In July 1954, Sam recorded a young truck driver named Elvis Presley singing "That's All Right." The song was electric, different. It mixed black blues with white country in a way nobody had heard before. Local radio went crazy for it. Kids started asking, "Who is that?" For the next year and a half, Elvis recorded exclusively for Sun Records. Small releases, regional success. He played high school gyms, county fairs, tiny clubs across the South. He traveled with Scotty Moore on guitar and Bill Black on bass, cramming into cars, splitting $30 paychecks 3 ways. It was hard work, exhausting, but it was honest. Sam Phillips treated Elvis like family. They had a handshake deal, a gentleman's agreement. Elvis trusted Sam. Sam believed in Elvis. The recordings they made together during those 18 months, Blue Moon of Kentucky, Good Rockin' Tonight, Baby Let's Play House, became the foundation of rock and roll. Raw, urgent, alive. But by late 1955, word was spreading. Other people were noticing Elvis. Bigger people. People with money and connections and plans that went way beyond Memphis. One of those people was a man named Colonel Tom Parker. Enter the Colonel. Then a man in a Hawaiian shirt walks into his life with promises nobody can refuse. Colonel Tom Parker wasn't actually a colonel. He was a carnival promoter turned music manager with a genius for making money and a ruthless approach to business. He wore loud clothes, smoked cheap cigars, and talked fast. He'd managed country star Eddie Arnold and knew every trick in the entertainment industry. Parker saw Elvis perform in early 1955 and immediately recognized something Sam Phillips didn't fully grasp. This kid wasn't just a regional sensation. This was a gold mine waiting to explode nationally. But that would never happen at Little Sun Records. It needed a major label. National distribution, television, movies. Parker started circling, showing up at Elvis's performances, talking to Elvis's parents, Vernon and Gladys, planting seeds. "Your boy's got something special," Parker would say to Gladys, "but he needs proper management. He needs someone who knows how the big leagues work." Elvis already had a manager, Bob Neal, a Memphis DJ who'd been helping him book shows. But Neal was small-time, handling regional tours and local radio. Parker was talking about New York, Hollywood, Ed Sullivan, the big time. By summer 1955, Parker had convinced Elvis to let him help with bookings. Not as an official manager yet, just as a special advisor. It was a foot in the door, and once Parker had his foot in, he started pushing. He talked to RCA Records, one of the biggest labels in America. He told them about this kid in Memphis who was about to blow up. RCA executives were skeptical at first. Rock and roll was a fad, they said. It would burn out. But Parker was persistent. He arranged for RCA executives to see Elvis perform. They saw the screaming girls, the sold-out shows, the way Elvis moved that made crowds lose their minds. And they started to believe. RCA made an offer. They'd buy out Elvis's contract from Sun Records. They'd give Sam Phillips $35,000 for the rights to Elvis, plus $5,000 directly to Elvis as a signing bonus. In 1955, that was enormous money. Sam Phillips was struggling financially. Sun Records was barely staying afloat. $35,000 would save the studio, let him record other artists, keep the dream alive. But it meant losing Elvis. The kitchen table decision. The meeting happened at the Presley home on Audubon Drive in Memphis, November 1955. Elvis sat at the kitchen table with his parents. Sam Phillips was there, Bob Neal, Colonel Parker, and lawyers. Lots of lawyers. On the table sat the contract. Pages and pages of legal language that nobody in the Presley family fully understood. The essence was simple. Elvis would leave Sun Records and sign with RCA. He'd also sign a management contract giving Colonel Parker control of his career. What Elvis doesn't know is that this one signature will haunt him for the rest of his life. Sam Phillips sat quietly. He'd known this day was coming. He'd tried to hold on to Elvis, but he couldn't compete with RCA's money or Parker's promises. He looked at Elvis and said something witnesses later remembered. "You're going to be bigger than I can handle, son. But don't forget where you started." Gladys Presley was nervous. She didn't trust Colonel Parker. Something about him made her uncomfortable. "Elvis, baby, do you really need to do this? Things are good right now." But Vernon Presley saw the money. $40,000 total. More money than the family had seen in their entire lives combined. Money that could buy a real house, pay off debts, give his son security. "Elvis, this is your shot," Vernon said. "You gotta take it." Elvis looked around the table. At Sam, who'd given him his first chance. At Bob Neal, who'd driven him to gigs in a beat-up station wagon. At his mother, who just wanted him safe and happy. At his father, who wanted him rich and secure. At Colonel Parker, who promised to make him the biggest star in the world. Elvis was 20 years old. He'd been driving a truck 18 months ago. Now men in suits were offering him more money than he'd ever imagined. How could he say no? He picked up the pen and signed. The aftermath. Within weeks, everything changed. RCA rushed Elvis into their Nashville studios. They wanted hits immediately. They'd paid too much money to wait. The recordings were slicker, more polished than the Sun sessions. Professional musicians, multiple takes, production value. In January 1956, Elvis recorded Heartbreak Hotel. It became his first national #1 hit. By spring, he was on national television. By summer, he was in Hollywood making movies. By fall, he was the biggest star in America. Colonel Parker orchestrated all of it. The TV appearances, the movie deals, the merchandising, Elvis lunchboxes, Elvis dolls, Elvis everything. Parker negotiated brilliantly, getting Elvis into situations that made him a household name. But there was a cost. If you remember Elvis's early music, those raw Sun Records recordings versus the later RCA productions, which do you prefer? And do you think he made the right choice signing with the Colonel? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're loving these deep dives into Elvis's career, hit that subscribe button for more untold stories. What was lost? The people who believed in him first watch helplessly as he's pulled away. Sam Phillips went back to Sun Records and used the $35,000 to record other artists. He discovered Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash. He built a legacy. But he never stopped wondering what would have happened if he'd kept Elvis. Years later, Sam said in an interview, "Losing Elvis was like watching your kid go off to college. You're proud, but you miss them, and you worry they're going to forget where they came from." Scotty Moore and Bill Black, the guys who'd been with Elvis from the beginning, found themselves pushed to the side. RCA brought in session musicians. Parker renegotiated everyone's deals. Scotty and Bill went from partners to employees, then eventually to barely being involved at all. Bill Black later said, "We built something together, the three of us and Sam. Then suddenly it was big business and we didn't fit anymore." The music changed too. Those early Sun recordings had a rawness and authenticity that could never be recaptured. They were made by hungry kids who didn't know the rules and didn't care. By the time Elvis got to RCA, there were producers and executives and strategies. the spontaneity was gone. Fans debate this to this day. The Sun recordings, primitive, urgent, revolutionary, versus the RCA hits, polished, professional, commercially dominant. Which was the real Elvis? Maybe both. Maybe neither. But what's undeniable is this: something was lost. When Elvis signed that contract, some connection to the raw, unfiltered expression that had made him special in the first place. Colonel Parker's grip. As the years went on, the Colonel's control tightened. He negotiated a 50-50 split of Elvis's earnings, unheard of in the industry. Most managers took 10, maybe 15%. Parker took half of everything. He steered Elvis into movie after movie, 31 films in total, most of them formulaic and forgettable. Why? Because the movie deals were lucrative and easy to control. Parker could negotiate everything from Hollywood, keep Elvis on a predictable schedule, maximize profit. But Elvis hated most of those movies. He wanted to be a serious actor. He wanted to record meaningful music. He wanted to tour internationally. Parker said no to all of it. Too risky, too complicated, too hard to control. And by the time Elvis realizes what he's lost, it's already too late to go back. By the late 1960s, Elvis felt trapped. He'd signed contracts that gave Parker control over nearly every aspect of his career. Breaking free would mean lawsuits, financial ruin, chaos. So Elvis stayed, kept making movies he didn't believe in, kept following Parker's direction. It wasn't until the 1968 comeback special that Elvis finally pushed back, insisted on doing something raw and real again. And the special was a massive success, proving that Elvis's instincts were right. But even that victory was temporary. Parker soon had him back in Vegas, doing predictable shows, following the formula. People close to Elvis said he would sometimes talk late at night about the Sun Records days, about Sam Phillips, about recording That's All Right in a tiny studio with Scotty and Bill, about when music was simple and pure and his. "We were just making music we loved," Elvis would say. "Nobody was telling us what to sell or who to be. We were just us." The question that haunts history. So did Elvis make the right choice? Did signing with RCA and Colonel Parker save his career or doom it? The truth is complicated. Without Parker, Elvis might never have become the global phenomenon he became. He might have stayed a regional star, playing southern venues, making great music that never reached beyond Memphis. Parker's ruthlessness and business savvy genuinely did make Elvis the biggest star on earth. But without Parker, Elvis might have lived longer, might have maintained creative control, might have toured the world, recorded the music he wanted, acted in the films he dreamed of, might have been happier. In 1973, when Elvis and Priscilla divorced, Priscilla later revealed that Elvis told her, "I should have listened to my mama. She never trusted the Colonel. She knew." Gladys Presley had died in 1958, long before most of the consequences of that contract played out. But apparently, she'd sensed something that night at the kitchen table, some warning. That her son was trading away more than he realized. By the time Elvis died in 1977, Colonel Parker was still taking 50% of everything, including posthumous earnings. The relationship had become so tangled, so contractually binding, that even death didn't end it. Fans still argue about Parker. Some call him a genius who made Elvis immortal. Others call him a parasite who exploited a naive kid and bled him dry. Both are probably a little bit true. That night, in November 1955, when a 20-year-old Elvis Presley signed his name on that contract, he thought he was signing up for success. He had no idea he was signing away control of his entire life. If this story made you think differently about Elvis's career, please share it. And if you've ever made a decision that seemed right at the time but changed everything, for better or worse, you understand exactly what Elvis felt that night. Subscribe for more untold Elvis stories that dig into the complicated human moments behind the legend. Because the truth is always more interesting than the myth. And remember, sometimes the most important decisions we make happen at kitchen tables, late at night, when we're too young to understand what we're giving away. Thank you for watching.